Holy moly. Alright, let's try. Let's give this a whirl. Whew. I walked to the grocery store, so now I'm like winded. So we'll see how it goes, but we got some coffee and some food here. Maybe we'll manage a bit. I haven't programmed in a while. Oh, scary. It was scary. All right. Put a lot of cream in it. I actually prefer milk, but I'll do a big creamy today. Big creamy coffee. It's too hot. Ouch. So where did we leave off? Did it break? Or was it working? It was working. There are no bugs. Surely, there are no bugs at all here. Oh, look. There's one. Alright, so a mask. Public pool mask input. Pool mask input equals false. And this one. as such. And how should we do this? I think we basically need a mask step before the draw. Because the problem is that we have to access the mask, right? And the mask is generated in the draw step. And that means that if the draw step happens, like if the mask is generated, if it's recursive, right? If it's generated in the draw step, that means we don't have a mask to check against for the input. So it would mean that recursive masks can't mask. So we're still on masking. We have to break out the mask. Which probably isn't that big of a deal. But it needs to be broken out. Hello. We're still stuck on masking. Partially. I'm just trying to think of what would be the best way to handle it. Because this is the current issue. Right. We have this one here. This one is unmasked. This one on the left is masked. And we can drag it. We can drag this too. However, we can also drag this here. Right. So it doesn't have any input masking. And the problem is that the input step happens before the draw step. So we don't actually have access to recursive masks in the input step. So we can't actually do anything. So that's what I'm thinking about now, like how should we handle that? Because I feel like I need like to run a mask step ahead of everything, and then we handle the masks there. But the thing is that right now the masks are kind of like handled on the fly as we render, I think. So I don't know if it's cached at all. Here we have a mask, right? This is the draw step. Combine recursive masks, then we set it here. And combine recursive masks, that applies it to this list. Recursive mask addict. And that way we have a recursive mask for each depth. That's what the int is. It's basically folder depth. It's like, yeah, we're 7 children in, that's where there's a recursive mask. Then it gets an index of 7 and a mask data. That way, if we need to go back to 7, we know that, okay, we use this mask data and skip like anything that's above. And this is where it becomes really annoying, right? Because now, how are we gonna handle it now? That means that basically every frame we would need to clear a list of sorted lists for each root indexed object that has the second we actually generate anything here, we then need to store that in a dictionary, I guess would be okay. Something like that. And then we generate that, then we use that in the input. Then as we generate it, we should cache it probably. But caching is annoying because then we have to uncache it. But that could be done on the next. We could uncache it on every mask step. It's finally drinkable. Yeah, I bought some sausage. Oh, it's salami. Honestly, this salami sucks. I forgot that it's this bad. Also, there's like little tiny peppercorns in, just randomly here and there. So randomly when you're chewing, you're just like start choking because it's chewing up on pepper. Yeah, it's rough. The things we have to put up with in this modern age. No, I don't have multiple problems. But that's right now we've been just kind of going through it, I guess. But it's fine, like, I would just need to figure it out. I did walk to the grocery store, and... Cause I woke up... yesterday, I slept super poorly, that's why I didn't do anything. And today I woke up and I was like, yeah, I feel good, let's program today. Then I went to the store to buy some cream for my coffee, and then I came home and I was like... Oh! And then I forced myself to program. But I am quite convinced that we need to do this. Here, we don't need an override because there's nothing to override. So we'll put it here and then we'll append it to the update. What do we call it? Mask generation. Does it need that? I don't. It doesn't need game time at all. There's no reason to pass that in. And then here at the end of main controller.update. No, it's before main controller.update. Because the main controller.update, that's where the input happens. So we want it to be here. Mask generation. Whatever happens in base update, I don't know. And then this here. That's the recursive mask list, right? So we can't clear that anymore, I think. instead, it needs to be something like internal dictionary int sorted list int mask data. Mask. What do we call this? Master list. A master dict. Some bullshit like this, right? And then here, this should be cleared at the start of every mask master dict. Clear. But I don't know if we can do clear, because this contains render targets. So we have to do, we need a for each. Will a for each work? No, we don't need a for each. We can say for I, and that's recurse, no, mask master dict dot count dot keys dot count. And then here we have another for loop. U mask master dict I, no, mask master dict, and then we access it like this using mask master dict dot keys u, no I. Cannot apply indexing. Oh, wait. Okay, so it's gonna need to be values. No. What am I... No. No, it should be values. Shouldn't it? Because we're trying to access the sorted list. So we're checking the mask masterdict.keys. And then we need to access mask masterdict.values. And we need to access the value. Well, I guess we don't need to access it with the key. We just access it with the... Wait, hold on. We can just access the values here directly like that. What do you mean I can't access values like this? It returns a dictionary. Yeah? Stupid. I'm trying to access the values in order to access the dictionary. Wait. No, this is a dictionary. Right, that's why this needs to be a for each. Holy shit, I'm rusty. Mask master dict. For each list. Right, then we'll say int I. And then we have list dot value dot count. And then here in list dot value I dot dispose. And then after that, we can say mask master dict something something something. I think we just need to clear it here. Mask master dict dot clear. That should be good. At least I think so. Oh, Pepper. Oh. Oh. Um. Okay. And let's run this in mask generation here. There's another pepper. I see it. Disarmed. And then we simply need to do the same thing as here. I'm just thinking... if we should instance this right away. Right now it's running main controller, right? But what if main controller was, you know, this is what I was doing in Legends of Terrestria. What if this was its own separate thing that you could create multiple of? This was just an entity scene container. I think that's always a good approach. But that's also, it almost runs contrary to how monogame works to some degree. But I guess not really. You would just need to add like a world step to each method. So it's like you do input on everything in order, then draw everything in order, do masks on everything in order. Like that. Yeah, it will be fine. But I think it would be overkill for this game, but I don't know that long term, right? Because I think it's like, on one hand, it's almost prudent to say, yeah, I don't need this, let's not do that. But on the other hand, it's like, what if we do want to take the game beyond just like flat static hexagons? But if we do want to have some shadows, what if we do want to have, I don't know, what's it called? It's something I've always wanted to mess with. Normals, right? Normal maps. I think it's normal maps, right? Normal mapping is something I've always wanted to do, but it's extremely difficult to work with and understand and to make look good, because usually it just looks like glitter, and I want it to be pixel art normals, which is really difficult. Because normally when you do gradient or normals, it's a gradient. I don't want it to be a gradient. I want it to be like pixel art, where it's got a limited palette. Right. Because that's the only way to make the flats like to change color in a way that feels like it makes any sense. But even then, it's like almost impossible to make it look right. Because at the end of the day, it's a 2D image, right? But it would be fun to mess with. But there's like nothing. I don't think there's a single program that does it well. I think there's a plugin somebody made for Sprite that might make it like tolerable to test and work with. But that's the only thing I've ever seen. Normal toolkit, Sprite. Come on. Open it up. I did buy and play that game you mentioned. I just didn't stream it, most of it. The Shadows of Forbidden Gods. It didn't feel like a stream game. It felt like I'm in my couch and I'm just like watching TV and playing something kind of game. I did play it a bit. Yeah, I played the demo, and then I did buy the game later when I ran into the turn limit, but I played 2 games because I failed the first one, I think. I think I maybe failed twice, I'm not sure. And I wanted to finish it with the first god to unlock the others, and then when I finally unlocked it, I was like, I don't know if I want to play the other gods. So, I don't know, maybe I'll play it a bit more. It was a neat game, but it is very simple too. It does feel like once you've played it once, you've played it enough almost. For me at least. But it was alright. What am I doing right now? Oh yeah, I'm trying to open this normal toolkit thing, but itch isn't loading. Is itch down? No, it's up. Okay, now it opened. It's got a generator, but it doesn't have a previewer, I think. And generators isn't really anything. That's what I'm not interested in. I would like to have a preview window for a sprite. A sprite normal preview. I made an A-Sprite extension that lets me preview the normal map of a sprite before importing it into Unity. What do you think? Yeah, where's the download, motherfucker? Oh, it's not sale. It's not free. 50% off. Free buyers. No. It's $1. $1, bro? Wait, isn't this the same one? No, it's not. Normal map preview. I think normal maps add a lot to games that have simple like art for like you just have like buildings and stuff on the map. I think it can add a lot. It can also detract and make it feel worse, but it can add a lot. So that's why it's something I do want to test, because I would also like to do it in more complex games, but this is like wizardry skill level to do this in like a normal pixel art style game and make it actually look good. Because you basically have to draw it all manually yourself on every frame on an animation, right? Like, it's ridiculous. This, for me, this is AI work. If I could do this with AI, I would. No questions. Easy. Because this is one of those things that's like, it's just bullshit. Like, it's so much work. Especially since you can't like see properly. Like, maybe when you get used to it. I almost want to buy this like right now. $2, bro. It's like farming my information. Grayscale preview. I'm getting super sidetracked here, but you know what? I'm just gonna buy it. $2. Where's my wallet? $2 reduce. I don't know my full credit card number anymore, or it's a debit card. State province. Yep, we have that. We have that in Sweden. It's $2.50 because there's taxes. Month, year. Please complete the captcha. There was no captcha. I love when they do that. They're like, they don't load the captcha and then they're like, error. All right, that was yep, that was traffic lights. Now, usually when I buy something like this, it doesn't work. I need to log in. I know what my... Oh. He emailed me a long one-time code. Everything's so complicated, man. The forehand. Okay, normal map preview download. All right. Let's see, a sprite. Scripts, right? Open scripts folder. You pop it in there, I think. No, A-Sprite extension. That's different, isn't it? Okay. I'll read the README. Edit preferences extensions. Okay, that's where it is. Actually, hold on. I don't know where it's gonna open this shit. Actually, it's in some bullshit area. What if we extract it to there? And then, where is my A-Sprite folder anyway? In Steam. I'm just gonna pop it in there. So it's what? D:" theme apps common A-Sprite there. Apply. All right, should be good. Now, how does that work? It's not there. I'm gonna have to read it. Normal map preview. Error! Okay. Am I gonna have to update A-Sprite? Okay, so we need 2 layers. We need a normal, diffuse, error. It actually doesn't say like which A-Sprite version it supports, I think, but it was updated this year, so it should definitely support. But we're getting completely derailed here. But let me just export my Dropbox. A-Sprite keybinds 3. Because if I lose my keybinds, I'll die. Configuration file. A-Sprite roaming. Let's go put that as well in a backup folder. A-Sprite config backup. Hold on. There are... I just keep opening windows left and right here, that's why I'm... Or was it?
Yeah, it's just that if we keep the sessions and shit, the session folder is 48,000 files. So let's skip that one. And then we copy that. Right, and then last but not least, we zip up my A-Sprite. It's one of these things, like I have it working pretty much exactly the way I want it to work. So if he fucks up any... If he fucks it up, I'm just gonna wig out. So I'm just making sure that I keep the version I like using. Alright. So let's see. A-Sprite. Update. I think we can switch off the beta. Okay. Good. Something's changed there. Normal. Diffuse. Right now. Normal. It works! Now, I don't know what we need to do with, like, this diffused layer. Here you can switch to... Wait, how do you... Huh? It's here. Normal map. The preview is a little big, but it's okay. Better than nothing. Yeah, this does a lot. Views. All right. Well, whatever. But like I said, that would be interesting to work with at some point. And I think it could be okay for this project, but I'm not sure. Because I've seen them do it well with certain project. Is it Dwarf? Or is Dwarf just pure 3D now? No, it's Factorio I was thinking of, I think. I think Dwarf is just 3D. No. Yeah, Factorio.
I'm pretty sure it does normals. And you can't even see. Maybe I'm wrong too. He does normals in... What is it called? Songs of Six? But Songs of Six look like shit, so it doesn't matter. But... It does make the world feel like, you know, the sun... Like, you can tell where the sun is and stuff like that. It's still not, like, a bad implementation there. But it doesn't really help the visuals of the game to be any better, to be honest. I thought I made, like... I cut very little sausage, but I still don't have enough coffee. Doing everything but programming. I had to do this, set the graphics profile to high def to get the shaders to work the way I wanted to, because I think Monogame is by default operating on very old shader profiles. We have mask generation here, right? I think there's no way around it. We have to create a step here called mask generation as well. And it needs to use this. Public void generate masks. Don't know what it needs. It might need this. Actually, I don't think it needs that at all. We can just create one here instead. And use it locally. I don't mind the noise, how's it going? And then we look here. Just chilling. Played a lot of what yesterday? Oh, it's Mina the something, the rat game, I think. How's the code? Huh? Maybe. It's annoying. Everything is harder than it appears. So right now, I have made the mask work in the draw step, but now I need to remove it from the draw step because it actually needs to be its own step so that we can use the masks for the input as well. So I'm just thinking of like what do we need here? Generate masks. We can pass in game 1, that's okay. Yeah, we'll figure it out. We just need to think. Or get to the step where we can't think, where the thinking starts. What we need to do is, let's see. This is the draw step here. So we don't need to have a switch for the layer. All we need to do is do something like this. The input module? I don't know. It's some monogame thing. You just fetch an input. You have to be a bit more specific. I don't know. The way you usually use it here is you fetch like the keyboard state and the mouse state. Like input dot. Actually, I don't know what it's called. It's just keyboard dot get state, keyboard dot mouse state, and then you save the old one, and then you fetch the new state, and then you compare them to like get what you want. um So we don't need any parameters. Draw recursive mask equals false. I don't know if the game needs that check. So, okay. What we need to do now in entity is add another step here called public void generate mask. I don't know what it needs. Game 1 game. It might need the sprite batch actually. Int tree depth. And it does need this. It does need to have a sorted list that gets passed in. That could be all it needs. Here in mask, I wonder if in mask we should say public mask data, mask cache. Got a 2020 because I did object-oriented programming when the teacher mentioned it was optional, but the game kind of sucked. I'll be honest, I still don't know what object-oriented programming is. It's one of those things where it's like, think that's what we're doing? But I feel like everything is object-oriented programming. It's more like muted? No. You're muted. But yeah, like object-oriented programming, it's one of those things where I feel like it's hard to understand what it means, but it's because it's so basic and they make it harder than it is, because it's like your code isn't just one file. Then it's object-oriented programming. Kind of. I genuinely... Because whenever you say something about it, it's like, someone's like, no, that's not what it is. And then someone else is like, no, it's like this. And then... Mostly not familiar with the syntax here or the logic order. Yeah. So we have a mask cache here. Let's set it to null. And then here we have mask generation in game 1, wherein we will say main controller mask generate masks, this. All right. And then here we are going through this game object render list. But each entity has a master ID as well. All right. From what I gather, you draw a canvas with whatever things you want, assign them parameters, but now you need a clickable interface in the... What's the CSN VSS? Bro needs a new phone. What's a CSNVSS? But, no. It's... I mean, you can do this pretty much any way you want. But... And it depends on what terminology things mean, like canvas and stuff. Because I just have objects with positions and I just draw them on the screen in order from back to front. And now I'm creating a masking system for each object. And the objects consist of an entity tree, right? So you have the root here, which is just the main controller. And then you have an object here. You have kind of multiple objects. These are entities. And then this entity might contain 3 entities down there. And then at this stage of the entity, he might have a mask, right? And that mask might look something like that, and then it's like, yep, it's only gonna render the white part. And then it can be recursive or not. If it's recursive, then the mask needs to be applied here too. So then we need to funnel it in from here to here to here to here. If it's not recursive, then it's only applied to this entity, but the child entities are not masked. But then this entity here could also branch, but you could also have another mask here, right? And this mask needs to be appended to this one, and it might look like this then. And then we need to pass that one down to these. But then this entity here could also branch, right? And then we would need to keep this old one and put that one here too. So you see, it becomes a little complicated. We can't just like add to the mask. We need to keep the old version and shit like that. So. And it's about having children, so that if you move the base object, then all the children move with it. That way you can create like a window using multiple entities instead of it just being one entity. And now we need to generate those masks. It's about making it procedurally generated with parameters. The masks, yeah. Kind of. Like, you can have a texture mask, but I also have just like a circle, rectangular, or whatever mask shapes that are just based on parameters, and then it's generated into textures. How do you plan the supposed decision tree? Well, decision trees, I don't know if that's the right term, but it's just... I just make them. Like here, we generate the base entity, the window, and then it has a frame entity. Then I just set the frame as children or child of the window. That's it. And then you access its children through a list inside of the each object, and each object can then have more children and more children. It's always from a base seed that generates new scenarios. There's no seeding at the moment, where everything is just set. Now in entity we need a generate mask, which we have. And then we steal this. So we remove we don't need to do any of this. We just need to do combined recursive masks. And then that's added here. And then we shouldn't need to do this. And this is if mask.mask does not equal null. Then here it should be if mask.mask cache. No, mask. Oh yeah, mask cache does not equal null. If mask.mask maybe the mask data should have whether it's recursive or not. And then we set it to is recursive there. So here we have an adjusted screen position, and that's needed for when you combine two masks, you can no longer really do it. You can no longer really use a relative position, but rather it has to be just this is its screen position, right? Whereas a mask that is personal, I think we still need to generate that here. in this step. But that doesn't need to be cleared. That can just be that way always. Like, I think. Assuming that the mask doesn't need to be animated or something. But I don't think so. If it's a personal mask, then it just needs to be assigned to the mask data. No, we actually need to have two caches. We need a recursive cache and a normal mask cache. And then here, if not recursive, then adjusted screen position is relative position is a relative offset only, I think. But I'm not so sure we want to handle mask data and recursive mask data the same. Because a recursive mask is a 2D render target. Whereas a personal mask, I think, should just be a texture that's just set. And then cached. Because we don't want to keep a render target everywhere all the time. So maybe we should rename this to recursive mask data. And we add a new mask data here. Then we change this to a texture 2D instead. Render target. This is mask texture. This is now an offset position offset. This is simply not recursive ever. And if we run dispose here, then that's mask texture. If mask texture is not equal null, nah. Let's just run a mask texture dot dispose. Something like that. Something like that. And then the mask. Here we have a mask cache, but this is a recursive mask cache. And then we need to have a public mask cache, mask data, mask cache. And we don't need to combine those two. All we need to do is check against both. I don't think there's a dispose. Override. And that would be component. I think components should have a dispose. Actually. This is not destroying, this is just, let's rename this to dispose. However, here now we are caching the recursive mask. And with that done, I don't think we actually need to do anything else. All we need to do is just maintain the mask until the end of the draw step, and then we can just dispose of every single mask. And then at the start of the next mask step, we at every mask step, we just re-handle it, and we'll clear everything as we go through it. We set it to null, and then we create the mask again. Maybe. we actually can do it with dirty flags, so we can just flag an entity as dirty because it's moved or updated at all, and then that will update the mask, and that's a better. Let's just add that here right away. Public pool is dirty equals false. And that's much smarter. Jesus Christ. I think this is gonna work. We just need to get there. I'm gonna get some water, and I'm gonna go to the bathroom. Oh, we're stuck.
There we go. We got some water. Water.
Water. And then, to dispose of the mask fully, or to just because we need to dispose the recursive mask quite often. Potentially. I would say it's mainly in the transform. So if we go to the transform and we say anytime we do a set position, we need to say if mask, if base entity dot mask is not equal no, that's not right. That's not the way to do it, right? This is how we want to do it. Public void set dirty. Do we set the entity to dirty? Simply? It's really hard. But maybe if the entity is dirty, then that makes more sense. Then at the end of its update, maybe. Or maybe at the end of the draw step, we can say that it's not dirty. And then here in the transform, if the position is changed, even if the position is the same, we say base entity dot is dirty equals true. And then we need that pretty much in everything. Read. Write. What that means is that And we are only setting local position, and then everything else is like updated on demand. I think. Okay. But that sets the base entity to dirty. And that means that entities should, their default state should always be dirty. It's true. Right, but then what we have to do, I feel like, is I think we should have a master list for render textures as well. Because what we can do here is we can say that instead of caching each texture inside of each object, well, the thing is, it doesn't really matter, does it? Like, I can have, well, it does matter, kinda. But what I can do is we have a master list of render textures, and then what we do is we, in order to cache it, we just cache its ID. But the problem with that is, what if it's disposed and then like created again on the same frame? It could happen, maybe. Then that would bug out. I think it should be, there should be a master list of render textures, and it should be like, I want there to be like a render texture ID. But I guess the render texture itself could be the key. Which is stupid. I don't like that. But it could be the key. And then what we do is we have a list for each key that contains IDs of objects that have that entity cached, right? Because that way, in order to clear out a render texture, what we would have to do is just go through each entity ID and just remove the number from them and just set that to -1 or whatever, or null, whichever. So this is absolutely the Matrix. It's gonna be a short programming stream today. I just want to get back into the habit of it, because I've been not programming for too long. Tonight there won't be a stream here. We'll be playing Final Fantasy XIV on the Bickering Bunch channel. The YouTube, whichever. It's multi-streamed on. It's on Twitch as well, or on Rumble, or I think we might be on Kick too. I'm not sure. Maybe. If you prefer Kick. I don't have a huge... I don't have that much more in me today, to be honest. I mean, we're getting back to it a little bit, but... It's not amazing, is it? I could try something else here, just for a sec. Just to try it. I don't know what diffuse is. Like, what is a diffuse map? I don't know what that is. Normal map. Alright, we got the thing. So let's just go with albedo there. So, how do we do this? This is a central normal map. So, pretty much everything, like, it's gonna be really weird and hard to do this. Is diffuse like the light color or something? It would have to be something like this, right? Discrete, that's good. Discrete. But like, is this working? Because why is it showing like this color? I'm confused. And then you need to basically, you need to color this as like, what is the optimal angle for something to be lit, right? So this is like where the boobs are lit from. Hello, Red. How's it going? Maybe something like that. And then you need opposites. That are like over here. Here you have maybe like above. I just want to see if we can make this like have like any kind of appearance. Because right now, I don't even know. We need to include the outlines too. It's not like everything. I don't know. See, this is what's hard. How do you create like this? Can't. I don't understand. Is it not supposed to show the... blend with the actual sprite? I don't understand what I'm supposed to put in diffuse. Should I just copy this in there? Oh yeah, I guess. Yeah. So the coloration needs to be in diffuse. This preview is terrible. If you go too far in it, it doesn't zoom properly. It actually doesn't zoom properly. Because what I'm not really sure about is like how much should you change the coloration, right? Oh wait, so the diffuse is the actual just layer. That's what this means. Like if I remove this, that doesn't make any difference. Okay. So we really just work on the diffuse, because there's not just... There's value too, right? So I can't just go and do like this and then just assume like, yeah, okay, we'll add some light to it, and then that will draw it. That will like draw the highlights and color and stuff. That's not it. But we also can't have like highlights like this. It needs to be like entirely value based only, and then maybe we can add light source that way. This is really, really hard. I wonder if we should download that one that generates a normal map. And then we just use the normal. It's also, the outlines are a little weird. Like, I don't really want a normal on the outlines, but on the other hand, it's also like, if the colors inside become brighter, then we want the outline to be colored. Or maybe we just continue a bit here. And just see what happens eventually. I think you actually need like a lot of detailing here. Because like, I don't want it to be gradient, but it also needs to have like some steps. Because here... Could we possibly do something here? Like here... This would be highlit when the light is from front the most. And here it's like this maybe. No, I guess it's kind of like that. It's a little like this maybe. And up here it's something like this. I think for the most part, maximum is like this one. Should I just do this? Holy shit, this preview is fucking awful. My bad again, fucked it up. Doing some bullshit with normals. That's what we're doing now. This wasn't worth $2. What about this one?
In this video, I'm going to be
Hold on. Trying something. Okay. How the fuck do you... This PC... Where's my downloads? I actually don't know where my downloads folder is. Is that the one? No. There. Texture preview. Okay. Texture too large. Okay. Add layers underneath the texture image. Yeah, I know. I know, you son of a... I know. Stop. Stop. Does it need to be capital N? I don't understand what it means with texture too large. How can the texture be too large? The texture maps must be the same size as the texture itself. Well, obviously, they're all the same. It's a fucking layer. Like, what are you talking about? They can be placed anywhere on the canvas. What's he talking about? I think it's like this. And then the normal needs to be like this or something. And I don't know what a roughness map is at all. But now there's a size mismatch. Because it needs to be like this. And then the normal map over here. Roughness is like somewhere. And then a depth. You have the texture there. And then you have a depth map. Which I don't know what that means. Right? Like that should be it. But it still says texture too large or too small. Whatever. Okay, there's still something here. Depth. This is stupid. After there's a size mismatch. Texture too large. How can the texture be too large? Do you just support like 32 times? Well, like it doesn't say anything. See, this is why. Like this is programmers. They're like, just use it. Okay, it doesn't work. There's no instructions or anything. Does he have a GitHub for it or something? How to use. They must be the same size. Okay, but why does it have a size limit? Yeah, okay. So 128. What's the limit? Oh shit. $132 is the largest it supports. Why? There are only 2 places that say anything about 32. Canvas equals resize image. If texture image dot width times texture image dot height equals image width. Where's the limit? Plain size 160 times 160. This is so badly done. Ew. 160 times 160. So it just supports like plain size. I don't even know if that has anything to do with anything. 40. This is just for texturing. Yeah, we're not gonna reprogram this just for lols right now. Just annoying that nothing works. What about that other one? Like, it would have kind of worked if it wasn't busted. What is this? A-Sprite normal shading. Oh. Yeah, okay, this is like, it does kind of what it's supposed to, except this one creates color wheel controls. There's no color wheel control, bro. I don't know what that means. Yeah. This lets you calculate it manually. I think Y, Z should be behind. I think Z should just be maxed out. Kind of weird though. Yeah. This is terrible. But yeah. I think we'll stop here. This is a dog shit stream. We didn't do like anything. But we did a little bit of programming. Did a little bit of programming. But I understand what I need to do now. I'm gonna write it down. Just to be sure that we remember. Oh, my current issues folders or file is somewhere else. That one. Basically, continue implementing separate masks generation step for I think use a master list for recursive masks and add IDs to each mask. And if the IDs go down to 0, then we dispose of the render texture. Something like that. When disposing, we have to go through each entity ID and remove mask reference there. Something like that. But yeah, like I said, Final Fantasy 14 tonight on the Bickering Bunch. It starts in about 2.5 hours, probably. Depending on if we're early or late. Odds are we're late. We're always late. But yeah. Until next time. Thanks for hanging. Have a good day. Bye-bye.